welcome to Channel 24. Today with me I have Donna Bowyer of the CASA of NEA. She's joining me again to talk about the great organization they have and to give us some more information about it in case you want to get involved. Donna, thank you for being here again.
Thank you, and thanks to the City of Jonesboro for having this fine station that gets out what's happening in the community. We appreciate it.
Well, we appreciate you being here and what you guys do. So, you were here before. You explained to me what CASA was, but maybe some people didn't see that before. What is CASA?
CASA is an organization that doesn't just happen in Jonesboro, Arkansas. It happens in 946 organizations throughout the country. And it was formed so that children in foster care have a voice in court. What the judges that formed this organization said is, CASA, what we want you to do is recruit and train volunteers and assign them to one of these children. Assign them to a family that has a case in my courtroom. And you go and investigate the case. You talk to all the parties involved. You visit those children and make sure they're doing okay in foster care or wherever they are with family members sometimes. And you report back to me, the judge, what's going on. And you make recommendations to me as to what's in the best interest of that child or that family of children. So that's what we do.
So when a person signs on to be part of this organization, I mean, how do you decide you go with this child or you go with this child?
That's a good question. We have commercials running now. We found television commercials, to be an excellent form of recruitment for volunteers. And volunteers will say, I knew about what you did. I saw something in a magazine, but then I saw the commercial and I had to call. So it's been wonderful, a wonderful tool for us, although we use all kinds of media, including social media. So the volunteers or the prospects will call us and say, I have a heart for children and I want to be a volunteer. After background checks are completed, after 40 hours of training, after some reference checks, and good conversations with that volunteer. Are you sure that this is the right volunteer job for you? And is it a good fit for the organization? Then they are sworn in by a judge. They stand in front of one of our juvenile judges and say, I promise to keep everything confidential and to do my work diligently on behalf of the children, among other things. And then a staff member works with each volunteer to determine a case that makes the most sense for that volunteer's talents. So it really is kind of fun to explore what are the strengths of this volunteer. One volunteer might have a legal background, so that person would be really good if you think that they're going to have to testify in court or be involved with other attorneys because they have that experience. One person might be really good in investigations, and so if we have a case that's really kind of convoluted, we'll say, we need somebody who's a good investigator to go and check all these things out and find out what's really going on. So it takes all kinds of talents, but anybody with a heart for children, we can find a place for them.
It sounds like is there a lot of time involved in this kind of volunteerism?
It can be, but we ask for 5 to 10 hours per month. At the beginning of a volunteer's work, at the beginning of a case, it can be more than that, especially if there's a case with lots of investigation. But this work can be done on the volunteer's own schedule. We have many volunteers who work full-time, so it's not something that you have to have, a full-time, lots of hours to do, 20 or 40 hours a week, or anything like that. The times that we do have to commit and ask our volunteers to commit is once every 3 months or so when that case goes to court. And when that case goes to court on that day, we ask the volunteer to be available all day so that they can appear before the judge. Their report's already been submitted in advance, but just so that they can be there in case there are questions by any of the parties in the case.
You mentioned training before. I mean, what kind of training do you have to go through to be involved?
There's a national training standard from National CASA organization, so we have a lot of good tools to work with. But we talk with the volunteers in a classroom setting for 3 or 4 or 5 sessions. Everything from what is this court system about that deals with these children, to the issues of trauma that the children are faced with, and then how the nuts and bolts of how to work a case and what kind of paperwork is required and that sort of thing. So someone who has a psychology or social work background will have already heard a lot of the
okay.
stuff we do in training and go over. And someone that hasn't and hasn't ever been in court before will learn a lot, because one of the days during training we spend sitting in the courtroom hearing all the cases that come before that judge on that particular day. And some people walk away and say, I have led a sheltered life. Others have been more exposed to people who are in that, happen to be in that system. And the children in the system are great. I was a foster parent. Donna and I, my husband and I, were for several years. We had 18 children over 3 or 4 years, all ages. And what we found about the children was that they had so much talent in most cases and had just been through a tremendous amount of trauma. And if you take a stress test, as you and I as adults, especially if you've had changes in your life or deaths in the family or moving, your stress level can be high. Well, these kids' stress level is off the charts. So we work with the volunteers to understand that, yeah, they're probably acting out in school. And there's a good reason for that, because of what, some of the things they've been through, because of their stress level. So one of the volunteers' jobs is to look at, are they getting the services they need to get them back on track in school, and to continue to be productive and learn and keep up with their peers.
That's great. So what if we want to get involved? How do we get a hold of you? What do we need to do?
Thank you. Our local office telephone is 870-935-1099. You can go to our website, neacasa.org. You can Google CASA, National CASA, and get to the same place. I want to volunteer, and find the paperwork to fill out. So lots of ways.
Now, what if we want to help, but we're maybe not one of volunteers? Is there anything else that we can do to give to the organization or help in any other way?
Yes, money is very important to us, because we can't. It costs about $1,000 to serve each child for 1 year, with everything that's involved in that process. It costs $2,700 to train new volunteers, and we've trained 22 new volunteers in the last few months, and have about 8 more in training right now, and another class starting in June. So it does take money. We welcome any funding that we can get. Of course, we have several grants, and we have fundraisers, including Cowboy Up for CASA, which happened last month. That made $37,000 for us, so it was very successful. We also need volunteers to help with events. We could use help in the office from time to time. So if we have spots on our board coming up next month. So if you're a community leader and have a heart for children and want to plug in, then that's another spot.
Great. Donna, I want to thank you so much for being here again and telling us
Thank
all
you for
about
having
this.
me. I appreciate it.
And guys, there's so many ways to get involved and help the children of our area in many ways. So just get in contact with them and help any way you can. And thank you again for watching. We'll see you next time.